Hello again, my name's John. I'm a retired chef from the northeast of England in the UK, and welcome to another bread video. And in this one I'll be making these fantastic sourdough mini baguettes. You can view the ingredients list and full written method for this recipe on the recipe page on my website. I'll leave links at the end and under the video, or just click on the eye icon top right of the screen. Before I go any further, I'd like to give a quick shout out to this week's Patreon and PayPal donators, and they are Simon Walker, Tom Storyard, Linda Thompson, Linas Urbonas, Catherine G. White. Thank you very much everyone, it really does help the channel. And as I mentioned, this is a sourdough bread recipe, so you'll need a sourdough starter to follow along. If you don't have a starter, please see my sourdough starter video on how to make one. I'll leave links in the description box below the video, or just hit the eye icon top right of the screen. Okay, I'll begin the recipe by making what's called the polish, and this needs to be made well in advance of making the baguettes, and let it sit at room temperature for several hours. I normally set mine away the day before. Right, in the bowl I have 200 grams, that's 7 ounces of water. Cold or room temperature is fine. Try to use bottled or filtered water if you can. Next, add 50 grams, that's 2 ounces of your starter that's been sitting in the fridge. Make sure you get these measurements correct because this polish is part of the whole recipe. Followed by 200 grams, that's 7 ounces of strong white bread flour. Now give that a good mix, cover the bowl and let it sit at room temperature for at least 8 hours. All this does is allow the starter to become strong and healthy and ready to begin making the bread, in this case baguettes. And for those who are not familiar with sourdough, it's a homemade yeast, but with, in my view, a much better taste than commercial yeast. And once you've made your sourdough yeast, you can keep it indefinitely in your fridge. But like I said, check out my sourdough starter video for everything you need to know about the subject. And here's what I made yesterday. Now this polish has been sitting on my kitchen bench for the last 10 hours, and as you can see, it's all bubbly, active and ready to go. Okay, time to weigh off the rest of the ingredients for this recipe, starting with 520 grams, that's 18.3 ounces of bread flour. Followed by 320 grams, that's 11.3 ounces of water. And yes, it's always much more accurate to weigh the water too. Finally, 8 grams, that's 1 teaspoon of salt. And that's all you need for this baguette recipe. Right, time to put the dough together. I'll start by pouring the water into a suitable bowl. Next, I'll add the polish to the water and give it a good whisk. Make sure you scrape it all out of the bowl with a spatula. Don't forget the ingredients list and full written method for this dish is now on the recipe page on my website. Just click on the eye icon top right of the screen, or simply click on the link in the description box below the video. Next, add the flour followed by the salt and mix that to a sticky dough. I'll be using my trusty wooden spoon handle to mix mine. You can use a stand mixer to do this part if you wish, but only until the dough comes together. Remember, this is a no-knead recipe. But as this only takes about 90 seconds to mix, I'm just going to do mine by hand. Try to scrape it all off the sides of the bowl too. Right, cover your bowl and set your timer for the first of 3 45-minute rises. These 45-minute rest and rise periods are very important to achieve the fantastic taste, structure and texture of these baguettes. OK, after the first 45 minutes, slightly wet the bench and scrape out the dough. And with wet hands give it a few turns, but only for about 30 seconds as shown in the video. This turning action distributes the temperature and knocks the dough back or degasses it, and this is when you should see and feel the dough becoming much smoother. Now get it back into the bowl, cover it and set your timer for the second 45-minute period. After the second rise, do exactly the same, take it out, give it a few turns with wet hands and bench, get it back into the bowl and set the timer for the third and last 45 minutes. OK, while waiting for the dough to rise, I'll get a couple of things ready. Starting with the baker's couche. All this is a well floured piece of material to proof the baguettes on. I use 100% cotton pillowcase for mine. It's a lot cheaper than the proper baker's couche material and it does exactly the same job. You'll also need a slightly oiled strip of cling film or plastic wrap. This is to cover the pre-shaped baguettes a little later. Set that aside for now. Next job, I need to lightly oil a couple of baking trays. I simply add a drop of vegetable oil and wipe most of it off with a paper towel. There should be enough on the paper to do the other tray too. The trays I'm using are 30 by 30 centimeters, that's 12 by 12 inches. Right, the next job is to flour the worktop and get your digital scales ready to divide the dough into however many baguettes you're making. Out of this recipe you can get either 4 large, 6 medium or as I'm going to do 8 small. OK, once the time's up, turn out the dough onto the floured surface, sprinkle flour over the dough and divide it into 4 equal pieces. And if you're making 6 baguettes, divide yours into 6 equal pieces. And if your measurements were correct at the beginning, each of your 4 pieces should weigh approximately 310 grams, that's 11 ounces each. Now the next step is to pre-shape the baguettes and let the dough relax a while. This will make forming the final baguette shape much easier. Rather than me trying to explain how to do this step, it's easier if you just watch and copy the way I'm doing the pre-shapes. Once all the pre-shapes are made, cover them with the oil cling film that was prepared earlier and have a bit of a clean up and let them rest for 15 minutes. Once the time's up, flour the bench again and start to form the baguettes as shown. You can either make 4 large baguettes from here or as I'm going to do 8 small ones. First I'll eyeball each piece in half. Once again, rather than me trying to explain how to do them, probably the best way is to watch how I form the baguettes. I'll go through the first couple slowly so you can get an idea how it's done and fly through the rest. But really the best way to learn is to practice yourself. Even if they're not perfect baguette shapes, they'll still have the fantastic taste. I do explain in a bit more detail in my other baguette videos on how to form them if you want to have a look at those, but I'll say it again, practice is the key. Once you form each baguette, place it on the couche as shown. Once all the baguettes are on the couche, cover them with a dry, lightweight cloth and set your timer for 30 minutes. When there's only 10 minutes left on the proofing time, preheat your oven to 230 degrees Celsius, that's 446 Fahrenheit or gas mark 8. You'll also need to place a pan of hot water on the bottom shelf of the oven. This will create a steamy atmosphere in the oven which makes the baguettes crispy. One more thing you'll need is a spray bottle of water standing by for a little later. Okay, the time's up, so I'll carefully transfer the baguettes to the lightly oiled baking trays. Evenly space them out. Once arranged on the tray, score the baguettes with a very sharp knife or razor blade. On this occasion I'm using this blade called a baker's lame. These are brilliant for scoring bread dough and you can find them quite easily online. I'll be making 3 slashes on each of these baguettes. Check out my French baguette video on how to properly score the dough. Right, I'll quickly go through the rest of the baguettes and get them into the preheated oven. Now carefully open the oven door to prevent a blast of steam. Once they're safely in the oven, give the inside a quick spray with water. This will make the baguettes even crispier. Get the door shut and set your timer for 18 minutes. This time may vary depending on how well done you prefer your baguettes. After 10 minutes I'll be swapping mine top to bottom and back to front. This is for even cooking. Okay, time's up, so I'll get them out and onto a wire rack to cool for a few minutes. And once again, release the steam slowly when you're opening the oven door. And don't they look fantastic? They feel really light, and just listen to how crisp they are. And I hope you noticed how much they'd risen in the oven. This is called oven spring. Right, it's been about 15 minutes, so I'll cut one open so you can see the inside. And just listen to that once again, how crisp these sourdough baguettes are. And it has quite a nice bubbly crumb on the inside. The texture and structure look fantastic, and the smell in my kitchen's amazing. I can't do a taste test today, but I assure you these sourdough baguettes have a truly fantastic flavour, and those who know sourdough bread will know exactly what I mean. So get yourself a sourdough starter made and have a go at these and other sourdough recipes. I promise you won't regret it. And once again, please help support the channel by joining my Patreon appeal for as little as $2 per month, or make a one-off donation via my PayPal page. It really will help keep the channel going. Well, thank you again for watching. Please like, share, comment and subscribe by hitting the circle above. If you do subscribe, activate the bell icon next to the subscribe button on my channel page. And by doing that, you'll be automatically notified every time I upload a new video. And in the meantime, here's a few of my other videos and playlists that you may want to watch. So, until the next time, be safe in the kitchen and bye for now.